Hi, Callie and Adria. So recently at work, I came across this teen book where the protagonist writes letters to dead people as like part of his school assignment. And I thought that was pretty cool. So I thought, oh, I wonder if she wrote to Keats. And sure enough, I flipped open the book and landed on a letter to Kurt Cobain, the main person that she writes her letters to. Flipped a second time and found John Keats, which was cool. And in the letter, she was talking about how she writes that she couldn't turn these assignments in to her teacher, which her teacher was disappointed about because she didn't write them to her teacher. She writes them to the people that she writes them to. But in her letter, she talks about Ode on a Grecian Urn, which I rolled my eyes at because why, like, it's a good poem, but why does everybody in everything always have to reference it? It's, oh God, I'm just so tired of that poem. But anyway, so she references this poem and then actually describes the poem. So I'm like, girl, if you're really writing this to John Keats, you don't need to describe his own poem to him. So I was really disappointed. Naturally, this of course reminded me of my own ongoing project of writing letters to John Keats, which mostly serves as like a sort of journal kind of thing, and I will not say is like better than this book because one, I haven't read this book, and two, that's a book that's been like really people thought out and edited and published and yeah, so I mean I can't judge this book. I don't even remember the name of the book though. Otherwise I'd tell you. But I thought, and it's probably a terrible idea, that I would share some pieces from my letters, like really like snippets from the last year and a few months of writing them. So here are probably terrible and quite an interesting glimpse at my ongoing battle with depression are excerpts from my letters to John Keats.
Dear Mr. Keats, dear Mr. Keats, dear Mr. Keats, I've decided to start writing to you. I wish to go somewhere where I can hear the birds rather than the cars and the constant chatter. I watched an adaptation of Jane Austen's Mansfield Park, and they use leeches to attempt to heal Tom. It makes me think of you and how they bled you thinking it would heal you. I know that this is not my life as it will always be, but every moment holds an eternity in it, and whenever I falter and look at that eternity, I feel it. I feel the forever of being completely alone in a world of emptiness and illusion. Why is it that those are the moments that feel most real? I am sorry for the month I went without writing. I finished my script for Elizabeth Frankenstein, which includes your Lamia, so long as that is all right with you. Things aren't quite right. Perhaps they never will be for me in Texas. But they are so much improved since I last wrote to you that I shall not complain. I've spent most of my energy just trying to stay above what I'm feeling. So with that, I'm really tired, but I feel fine, so long as I don't reawake my near constant state of anxiety. I hate everything about my life as it currently is, and there's only so many times I can tell myself that it isn't forever. I don't want to die, but I feel myself fading like a slow descent into death, and I'm furious. I have always feared I wouldn't live to see 23, and I'm now beginning to understand just how possible that is. To be poor and so very much in love with the world I fear will never love me back. I am tired, and if I think about it too much, I know that exhaustion runs far deeper than I would like to admit. All I can do is constantly remind myself that I shall not remain stagnant forever. I found your poem Too Hope the other day, and felt such a wave of emotion. It is something I find myself clinging to. I don't know exactly why I'm writing to you this morning. Perhaps it is because I am in much better spirits than I was even yesterday, and I simply wanted to share that with you. I wonder if I'll ever visit Rome again. I know I'd like to. I want to study at the Keats Shelley House. And if I may be honest, I think seeing your grave may have been what turned a fondness into such a strong attachment. Seeing your grave, knowing that you were really there, just in front of me and 6 feet under, that reminded me how real you were. That you were flesh and blood, and you wrote because it was who you were, and now you're a skeleton and devoid of muscle. Your hands can no longer hold a pen. I'm sorry, these are gruesome thoughts for such a morning. I thought I was finally getting everything back on track again, as if my life was ever on track to begin with. I want to be healthy, but instead I'm always scared, and when I'm not scared I'm angry, but I'm really just angry because I'm really, really scared. Sweet hope, eternal balm upon me shed. I'm going to be fine, I'm going to be fine, I'm going to be fine. Please tell me I'm going to be okay. I'm haunted by fears of my own death. I have made it to 23, so that fear is gone now, but still possibilities haunt me. A few days ago I read a book by Robin Schneider called Extraordinary Means. about what the world would be like if tuberculosis came back. It was extremely emotional to begin with, made even worse by its connection to your death. In a couple of days, I will be flying up to Seattle and then taking the train up to Canada. You wrote once about the poet being the most unpoetical, and while it's generally a statement I agree with, I'm beginning to wonder if you were wrong. At the risk of sounding too confident, these characters that I write, that I read and watch, these characters that I love, they live inside me. They are my life, my blood. Their emotions are my emotions. Their hurts and crimes they share with me. My soul lives in the soul of others, thrives in their worlds. My physical body may be trapped here in a world that is disappointing, unable to escape as much as I want to, no matter how hard I try. Or maybe I can make it. Traveling as often as possible, maybe it won't be as disappointing. I have my own search, my own journey, and all these souls tangled with my own as guides and companions. The sky outside looks angry in a way I haven't seen in a while. It fills me with both warm calm as well as a sense of adventure. Strange to feel both at the same time, but I think it is my favorite state. My time here grows short, and yet I am not bothered by that. I know it is only work that awaits me back in Texas, yet I am reassured by a feeling of impermanence. I think returning here taught me that. Being here again reminded me that however much I love my friends, I am not tied down by a love of location. I love Seattle, but I no longer feel the need to move back. It is not a part of me the way its lessons or my love for it is. I have finally learned to let the physical city itself go. There are more adventures that lay ahead. I know that now, and I'm really glad I got to return to this city so it could show me that. I have now dreamt of the same place twice. I have been to so many places in my dreams, but I know none of their names. Sometimes I can hear the sound of storms inside my head. I've always been able to imagine rain from the most unrelated noise, but now I can hear thunder out of nowhere, even when there is no thunder to be heard. Sincerely, your friend, Love, Gwendolyn.